so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Crash last night outside of a university sorority house. We have the story. And up at the Capitol, an education bill officially moves to the Senate. We'll tell you what this means for you. Plus, cold temperatures are rocking the state and severe weather is on our way. Our OU weather experts are tracking the storm. This is OU Nightly. Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Catherine Liberta.
And I'm Bailey Coyle. We begin tonight with a drastic change in our weather as temperatures plummeted overnight.
OU Nightly meteorologist Eli Millard is here to tell us why we've experienced such a downfall. Eli?
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about a complete difference from what we saw earlier this week. We saw temperatures in the 70s for most of the week, even some 80s down by the Red River. Yesterday, feeling more like April or May, 73 degrees, 20 degrees above average. But the low this morning after that front, 33 degrees, a 40-degree drop. Much different than what we saw yesterday, and with it came a northerly wind, cooling us down. Wind chills in the 30s, up in the 20s for folks up in northwestern Oklahoma. And the reason why is we have this storm that's been up in the Midwest. It's been dumping snow, 12 to 18 inches of snow up there. Here's that cold front tailing down with us, and that's what dropped our temperatures. Now for our weather headlines, we have a short-lived cool down, our timeout, some winter precipitation, and severe storms coming up. Ladies.
Thanks, Eli. A driver crashes on the lawn in an OU sorority house, drawing a crowd south of campus. OU Nightly reporter Sydney Wallace joins us live with what we know so far. Sydney.
Bailey, Catherine, I'm here in front of the Alpha Chi Omega sorority house where last night a car flipped on its side. A witness said he heard a loud bang and ran to the scene to see a truck laying on its side on the corner of College Avenue and Elmwood Drive. We're still working to learn the official cause of the incident. I reached out to Norman PD and Alpha Chi Omega, but have heard nothing in response. We'll keep you updated as we know more. Reporting live, Sydney Wallace, OU Nightly.
Thank you, Sydney. Two pieces of legislation have passed in the House, and both are aimed at providing funding and a tax credit for education. House Bill 1935 is potentially an $800 million education package that would give tax credits for non-public schooling, raise teachers' pay, and increase funding in public schools. Oklahoma families could also receive $5,000 in refundable tax credits for each child they send to private schools. And House Bill 2775 would raise salaries for all Oklahoma teachers by $2,500 and add an extra $300 million into public school funding, with a goal of supporting additional school staff raises and classroom needs. Wednesday was the last day to debate both these bills before being moved to the Senate. The first bill passed the House with a 75 to 25 vote, and the second bill passed with a 78 to 20 vote.
Police in Oklahoma City are still searching for a suspect after an armed robbery. Earlier this morning, a bank in northwest Oklahoma City was robbed at gunpoint. This occurred at Mid-First Bank near Northwestern Avenue and Northwest Grand Boulevard around 9 a.m. OKCPD say luckily no one was injured, but the suspect fled the scene.
And hearts are heavy in Central Florida and across the country today after 3 people were shot and killed. Spencer Plato has that story and the rest of today's national headlines from the News Center.
A Florida news station is identifying the journalist killed in last night's shooting in Orange County. News 13 in Orlando says reporter Dylan Lyons was at the scene of a deadly shooting when the suspect returned, killing Lyons and a 9-year-old girl. Police say the suspect, Keith Melvin Moses, was also shot the mother of the girl and one of the station's news photographer, leaving them critically injured. Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein will officially spend the rest of his life behind bars. A California judge sentenced Weinstein to 16 additional years in prison after being convicted of rape and sexual assault. Weinstein is currently serving 23 years in New York for a previous charge of first-degree criminal sexual act and a third-degree rape. Weinstein denies any wrongdoing and calls the case a setup. Authorities say an unruly American Airlines passenger forced a plane to make an emergency landing yesterday. The flight from Florida to Washington, D.C. made the landing in North Carolina, causing a ground stop on air travel. Police say the passenger, Tiffany Miles, charged the cockpit door but stopped before reaching it. Miles was charged with a misdemeanor and was released on bond. Bailey Catherine, the FAA reports more than 2,300 cases of unruly passengers' behavior last year.
Thanks, Spencer. Alex Murdaugh, the disgraced former South Carolina attorney who is on trial for the murder and the deaths of his wife and son, shocking some by testifying in his own defense. Cole Higgins has the latest from South Carolina.
Alex Murdaugh taking the stand Thursday to testify in his own defense.
I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime, ever.
Murdaugh and his attorneys trying to convince the jury he's innocent in the June 2021 killings of his wife Maggie and his 22-year-old son Paul. Murdaugh distraught while describing the moment he saw their bodies on the night of the murders.
So bad. He's done the way he's done. His head was the way his head was. I could see his brain laying on the sidewalk.
Prosecutors say Murdaugh killed his wife and son to distract from the 99 financial misconduct charges he's also facing. The defense arguing he's a caring father who was wrongly accused after a mishandled investigation. Meanwhile, Murdaugh finally admitting he was at the family's dog kennels with Maggie and Paul moments before they were murdered, and that he previously denied that during interviews with investigators.
I lied about being down there.
Would you agree that that's an important part of your testimony?
Sure.
Murdaugh blaming his lies on drug-fueled paranoia and issuing an emotional apology for lying multiple times.
I'm sorry to Mags and Paw. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them.
I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
Even if the jury finds Alex Murdaugh not guilty of the murders of Maggie and Paul, he is still facing the possibility of decades in prison if convicted of most or all of those financial charges that he also denies.
The University of Oklahoma is leaving the Big 12 and headed to the SEC.
Stay tuned to see how this move will impact game days in Norman. And a drug used to help those with ADHD has been in short supply for months.
After the break, learn how people are adapting to the shortage.
Prepared as your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane. You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Did you know that items like paint, cleaning solutions, pesticides, solvents, and other chemicals are considered household hazardous waste? These chemicals are dangerous to our environment and water quality when they are dumped in our storm drains or gutters. Fortunately, the City of Norman has a dedicated household hazardous waste facility where you can properly dispose of these items. Call 405-366-5463 to make an appointment. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
Meet the Scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you!
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
With the University of Oklahoma set to join the SEC in 2024, Norman City officials are preparing for a big economic impact. OU Nightly's David Ash has more on what this move will bring to the community.
It is no secret that home OU football games bring millions of dollars to local businesses in Norman. However, according to Chamber of Commerce President Scott Martin, joining the SEC may push those numbers higher than ever.
Most home OU football games right now are estimated to bring in around $10 or $11 million of fiscal impact to the community. When we were in Alabama, we talked to them about that, and they're about triple that much.
Martin and several members of the chamber visited 3 SEC schools last season, getting a glimpse at what to expect for game days.
That was what we gleaned from those visits, is that fans will travel regardless if they're going to the games, just to come take it all in.
For Mayor Larry Heikla, he is excited about the opportunities for the city's growth.
We want to be good hosts, and we want people to have fun. People that have fun spend money. I like that.
While it may not be all smooth sailing come 2024, Martin hopes residents can take pride in knowing what OU and Norman has to offer.
What people need to realize is that we're not some second-rate university or community. We're first-rate. We're world-class. We have been for a really long time. We've set the standard regardless of the conference we're in.
The first glimpse for Norman of SEC life will be football season in the fall of 2024. David Ash, OU Nightly.
To keep up with the expected demand, the City of Norman and OU are looking into building additional hotels and tailgating spots near campus.
The demand for Adderall grows as supply remains low. Snow Forth has that and more in today's Health Beat.
An Adderall shortage is forcing people with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder to find alternative medications. Some companies that make Adderall say they are having issues getting ingredients due to shortages and supply constraints. The FDA says the demand for Adderall has increased from 35.5 million prescriptions in 2019 to 45 million last year. And the number of children who died from the flu more than doubled over the past year, with most cases being children who were not vaccinated. The CDC says this is the highest number of child flu deaths at this point in the season since the 2009 flu pandemic. Doctors say this is likely due to the influenza B, which is more common in children. And meanwhile, a committee for the CDA is recommending a monkeypox vaccine for adults with risk of the disease. Advisors recommended a 2-dose Jynneos vaccine for protection against monkeypox, now known as Mpox. Its effectiveness hasn't been proven in clinical trials, but studies during the outbreak show it was up to 83% effective. Mpox had an outbreak last year. However, experts worry another outbreak could occur at any time. Bailey, Catherine, back to you.
Thanks, Snow. A new project is in the work that could increase tourism revenue for Oklahoma.
When we return, find out what the new venue will include. And temperatures on campus were much colder today than they were earlier this week.
That's right. Eli, can we expect a warm up anytime soon?
That's right. It's a little chilly outside, but a warm up is on the way, and we have severe weather with that as well. I'll time that out for you after the break.
To Sophia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
The central and midwestern U.S. averages more than 850 tornadoes each year, and lately, the number of floods has been rising in the region too. So chances are, there will be more twisters and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are, you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am a tree. My child, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug or the kind to climb? Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to OU Nightly. Thanks for joining us. Taking a look across campus, not a cloud in the sky, looking beautiful. Even a couple students walking to class. It certainly looks nice outside, but doesn't feel like that. 41 degrees right now with that wind coming from the north at 14 miles an hour, so it certainly feels colder than 41 degrees. Now, talking about yesterday, look at the temperature change between the last 24 hours. 33-degree difference here in Norman. So it is almost feels like a completely different season today than it did yesterday. Now, for our current temperatures outside, 40s out in southeastern Oklahoma. As you go farther northwest, it gets colder. Some places even below freezing. Now, wind gusts out of the north, like I said, 60 miles an hour in Norman. Mostly in the teens across the state, even a 20 or 2. And with that, like I said, wind chill. Feeling colder than it does the air temperature. 20s out in the northwest Oklahoma. Precipitation chances, there are some models showing overnight tonight that we'll see some freezing rain for southeastern Oklahoma. It is pretty scattered, so that's why we have chances so low. And then as that's tomorrow morning, as you go into tomorrow afternoon, have rain for much of the eastern, once you get to I-35 and go east, we're gonna have some rain. Out in western Oklahoma, maybe see some ice. Now we're not talking like an Ice-Mageddon event, ice accumulating on trees, but we may have some slick spots on bridges and overpasses, so folks in this area, be aware when you're driving to work tomorrow morning. Now I'll talk about our air mass forecast. Here we go. Here's our short cool down. Here's storm number 1 out in the west. Here's our severe storms that could come in Sunday. We're talking Sunday about 6 p.m. That's going to go off towards our east. And then here comes storm number 2 coming into next week. Look at the cool down here. So that's something we need to watch going later on into next week. But for Sunday, here's our storm setup. We got our Gulf moisture coming up from the south, jet stream kicking right overhead, and we got a dry line set up right here. So storms are going to fire up along the dry line off in western Oklahoma, and we're going to have an event. It's called a QLCS event, which is basically just a strong line of storms. And with that, like I said, the Storm Prediction Center issued an enhanced warning for much of the state. Pretty much the entire state seems some kind of warning. Now for our future cast, here's that strong line of storms firing off in the west. By 11 p.m., it'll reach the metro, and you could see any type of threat with this. But tomorrow morning, we're dry. Now the threats with that, we do have a medium tornado threat, and since this is a line of storms, the storm's going to be kicking, they're going to be moving. And with that, we have spin-up tornadoes, and those develop fast, move fast, and they come up with little warning. Main threat we're going to see is some damaging winds. And since this is kind of our first system, our storm system with this season, know where your safe place is, get some protective gear. Lows tonight, we're looking across the 20s, and then going into tomorrow, we're going to heat up all the way, barely heat up, look, we're in the 30s. 7-day forecast, though, 70s next week, but look at all the rain chances. Ladies, back to you.
Thanks, Eli. A new Coliseum is going up in the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds with the goal of remaining dominant in the horse show world, as well as being an economic driver for tourism in the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma City leaders broke ground yesterday on a structure that will feature seating for more than 7,000 people, a lounge, suites, a full-service restaurant, and several upscale concession areas. The Jim Norick Arena will continue to host events until the Coliseum is finished in 2025.
And Sooner fans, don't fill up your calendar for the spring just yet.
The Sooners have big things coming up. Kaylee Jo Hommel tells us what we can expect and more in sports.
That's right, a former Sooner will be honored among other Oklahoma legends. We have the time, place, and details coming up in sports.
Prepared as your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane. You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
Did you know that items like paint, cleaning solutions, pesticides, solvents, and other chemicals are considered household hazardous waste? These chemicals are dangerous to our environment and water quality when they are dumped in our storm drains or gutters. Fortunately, the City of Norman has a dedicated household hazardous waste facility where you can properly dispose of these items. Call 405-366-5463 to make an appointment. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
Hello, I'm Kaylee Jo Hommel, and it's time for sports. There's now one more reason to get your tickets to this year's spring game. On KREF Radio, OU Athletic Director Joe Constiglione announced Kyler Murray's Heisman statue will debut at the game. Murray's statue marks the 7th addition to OU's Heisman Park. The spring game kicks off on April 22nd at Gaylord Memorial Stadium. Constiglione also set the record straight on the upcoming season. Despite the big move to the SEC in 2024, the OU AD said the Sooners' main focus is still on this year in the Big 12. The new season brings new competition with additions to the conference, and OU wants its athletes and coaches to be successful. Pitching over to baseball, the Sooners took on Abilene Christian Wednesday night. Shortstop Dakota Harris came in clutch, tying the game at the top of the 9th, but ultimately Oklahoma was outrun in the 10th, falling to the Wildcats 4-3. OU hopes to bounce back this weekend in a 3-game series versus Rider. As for softball, they're taking a road trip to the West Coast for the Mary Nutter Classic. The Sooners take on Cal State Fullerton and Texas A&M Friday, followed by Utah and LMU Saturday. The weekend wraps up with a top 2 matchup versus number 1 UCLA Sunday. Head coach Patty Gasso is looking forward to some family rivalry as she faces her son, who coaches for Utah.
They're tough. Utah's very good pitching, an average hitting coach there. That might be a problem for them. I'm kidding. It's tough. Fullerton just beat Tennessee. I mean, there's good competition up and down. And what I'm really going to sit back and pay attention to is the camaraderie and the fight of our team.
The Thursday night forecast for Salt Lake City calls for thunder as OKC is set to take on the Jazz. Oklahoma City is looking to strike down Utah's 3-game home slide. After a break for All-Star Weekend, the Thunder are looking forward to what the rest of the season has in store.
It's great to come back into such a good environment. We spoke about it pre-practice that, it's easy for teams to kind of ease in after the All-Star break, but we had a great practice today. Guys got after it. We competed, got out, feedback under us, and then we've got a really tough run home and starts tomorrow night against a really good team. So today was a really good stepping stone for that, and we'll be ready for these last 25 games.
Catherine Bailey, I'm looking forward to seeing the Thunder back in action after the All-Star break.
Same here, Kaylee. A music tech giant is DJing to the next level with a new artificial intelligence program.
After the break, learn what the AI software will do for music listeners.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
The central and midwestern U.S. averages more than 850 tornadoes each year, and lately, the number of floods has been rising in the region too. So chances are, there will be more twisters and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are, you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Did you know that trash, like plastic bottles and fast food wrappers, can carry germs and bacteria? When these items are tossed in the street, they eventually find their way to a river or lake and have a negative impact on aquatic life. Keep our waters clean by putting your trash in the bin. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
I'm Becca Yanez at the OU Nightly Update Desk. Authorities are investigating a bomb threat made against a Virginia school after a controversial quote-unquote Satan Club meeting was held there. Police searched the school but did not find anything to cause alarm. The students were dismissed early and school activities canceled. Bailey, Catherine, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Becca. A music tech giant is in the process of making its services more personalized for its users.
Spotify is implementing a personalized voice DJ to introduce songs mimicking a radio announcer.
This new program has started rolling out in the US and Canada for Spotify premium users.
Well, with the severe weather moving in this weekend, let's get one last look at our timeline of the storm. Eli?
Yeah, much of the state seeing an enhanced risk. But like I said, let me time it out for you one more time. Storms fire off in the west, and they push through Oklahoma City by 12 p.m., and then by Monday morning, we're completely dry. Now, 7-day forecast, look at all the chances of rain, 70 on Sunday, and then much of 70s next week, and then we'll have 64 on Thursday. Ladies?
Thanks, Eli, and thank you for watching OU Nightly. I'm Catherine Liberta.
And I'm Bailey Coyle. Be sure to tune in to OU Nightly every weekday, live at 4:30. Good night.
Prepared as your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a hurricane. You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why